Welcome to Tentative Title with Tim. This is a podcast about creativity, about process, about filmmaking, and about screenwriting. Welcome back to the podcast, and we're already a week into the new year, and something big here in the United States happens. Of course, because 2020 never really ended, it just carried over into this year. So if you guys haven't heard, there was a coup or an attack or an insurrection, whatever you want to call it, on the state capitol, on the in DC, and that whole thing was incited by the sitting president, and it's a pretty big deal. And so it was really quite impossible to not put all of your focus and your energy, especially here in the States, to finding out what's going to happen next. I know that I was really, attached to my phone and to the television, and the funny thing about that whole situation, I guess, is that morning I decided that I wasn't going to turn on any news. I really wanted to focus on my goals and actually get things done in the new year. There's a script I'm working on, and so I really, really just wanted to get that done. And then I open up Twitter, and the story is unfolding before my eyes, and I quickly turned on the television, and then the rest of the day was just gone because I was just trying to bring in as much information about what was going on as I could as things were unfolding, because it was clear what was happening, but then it was also unclear how it was possible that this was happening. So that brings me to the topic I wanted to talk to today, which is just distraction. Like, I was distracted all last week. I couldn't get any work done, or at least not the kind of work that I wanted to get done. I ended up doing a lot more work around the house. I did a lot of journaling, trying to work out what was going on with my own thoughts about what was going on, about this situation. There was just a lot of not wanting to sit down and do the work that I'd set out for myself to do in a creative way. It was more about just, let's work through these feelings, let's work through these thoughts. And, even with this podcast, I couldn't find myself wanting to sit down and talk about anything else except what was going on at the Capitol. Now, I'm recording this Sunday night, and this shows you like how much I procrastinated on sitting down to actually record an episode. And I was so distracted that I didn't know exactly what to talk about until I realized, you know what, the thing I haven't talked about yet, even though I've only had this podcast for 6 months, is the idea of distractions. And especially in this day and age, distractions are everywhere, and it's not even something that has to really, it's something that we generate ourselves sometimes. Like case in point, this morning I got up and I wanted to do some writing. What did I do first? I grabbed my phone and I went on Twitter and I started wasting time looking at tweets and like trying to think of something to post, and just kind of being really distracted because it's easy to kind of like scroll endlessly through these apps, and then when you're bored with one, you switch over to another one, and then when you're bored with that one, you switch on to another one, and before you know it, you've wasted a couple hours. Granted, it might have been great in terms of networking or gaining more followers or connecting with people, but it doesn't help you get the work done. And also just being in a house with young kids, and the priority is turned towards them most of the time. And that's one of the reasons why I try to get up so early, is so that I have the entire house to myself. It's quiet. I can focus my thoughts, because with young kids, they tend to just run into the room and tell you everything that they're thinking, which in sense, like, my mind is geared to want to listen to what they're saying, even though it may be the 100th time that they've told me it. And so I want to engage there, and then I completely forget what it was I was supposed to focus on, and what project I'm working on or whatever. Like, that thought process, that focus just goes out the window. And I'm still endlessly fascinated by the fact that we have built a world with a lot of connection, and yet not a lot of productivity. Or like we have tools that allow us to be productive. And if we're allowed to kind of focus on having those tools, like sometimes we can set them to do the work for us, which is awesome. But when it comes to creative work, it's really hard to find that time of focus, because it seems like all hours of the day you can find something to distract yourself with. And it takes a lot of self-control, and it's tough some days. And, I try to have a handle on it, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. And, I kind of wanted to just talk about that, because this entire week has been about distraction. This entire week has been, trying to keep up with what's going on in the news, at least for me. It doesn't have to be that way. I could have chosen right at the beginning that even though something serious is happening, that I'm not, I'm going to spend the day, trying to, figure out what's going on, but, not to commit any more of my time to looking at what's going on Twitter or on news or anything. So I wanted to kind of give some tools to help us not be so distracted. Now, I don't know what anybody's situation is at home. You may, during this quarantine, during the lockdown and everything, some some of you listening may have been at home alone this entire time. And so when it comes to distraction, the phone is the only thing that you have to worry about, or the television, or heck, even just things that actually matter, paying bills and the what's going on with the health of family members and such. So if you have been at home and you don't have to worry as much, or you've been lucky not to have to worry as much, and your main goal is just to be more productive, to be more creative, I have a couple ideas that I need to have stricter in my life, but might be helpful if you haven't thought of them before. Granted, if you've been seeking to be more focused, to be more creative, then you probably have come across a lot of these ideas already. And, but I just kind of want to put them out there, anyway. So one of the things that I have tried to do even before the lockdown was just find a time every single day that you are doing creative work. Now, it's been difficult for me, but it's only because I've been kind of not as committed to it as I should be. And that is just waking up at the same time every morning. I used to wake up at 5 in the morning and I got so much done. And then, we had the lockdowns and everything, and it kind of seemed like time didn't matter. And, the whole emotional roller coaster of why even wake up in the morning if I'm just going to be at home? I have all the time in the world. What's the point? that spiral that happens. But that was a really good time for me because I got so much done. I'd get up, I'd make my coffee, I'd sit at the computer, and I had 2 hours of solid time that I could focus and write, and I got so many scripts done. It was one of the most creative routines that I had going on. And I know some people, they're more of night owls, and so they don't start their writing until midnight, or later on. They possibly 3:00 in the morning or whatever. There's all hours of the day in which you feel the most productive or the most focused. But it's a lot easier to do it at night and in early morning because the entire world is essentially asleep. And so there's not going to be a lot of people walking outside, your house or your apartment. Mostly everybody is going to be asleep. And so I understand that is the prime time to be creative, and I completely agree with that. So that, for me, I need to get back to that. I'm now waking up at 6, but even that is kind of a crapshoot. Like this morning, I wanted to wake up at 6, and I couldn't. I turned off my alarm, and I just went back to bed, and that's just what happens. So the other one is meditation. I've tried meditation earlier on in 2019, and it was a great way to kind of get myself centered and kind of to get all the noise out of my mind. I guess you could say that by journaling, it's kind of doing the same thing, but with meditation, you're clearing your mind, or you're just letting thoughts kind of flow through you, and you're just letting the natural process of your mind happen, and you're controlling your breathing, and you're just kind of you're letting the moment sit with you. And it's a very reassuring way to start the day, because it does give you a chance to just feel alive, to feel there's you're not rushing off to do something, that you're in the moment, that your mind is allowed to kind of slow down, and your body just kind of feels this balance. And it's really nice, and I need to get back into doing that, because my days and my creativity was so much better when I just took 10 minutes just to really kind of take a moment and just sit and not worry about what I'm doing and next, or what happened yesterday. I'm there in the moment, taking it all in. Appreciating the fact that I'm alive, that I was able to wake up at all, just these small things that kind of make us feel we're connected, to the world and to our bodies. This kind of bridges into the next thing, which is having a grateful list, writing things down that we're grateful for. That it allows us to kind of focus in on why we do what we do. I mean, if you stop and you kind of write down the things that you're grateful for, and you're like, well, I'm grateful that I have a place to live. I'm grateful that I have food to eat. I'm grateful that I have a family, that loves me. I'm grateful that I have kids. I'm grateful that I have a wife or a girlfriend or boyfriend, husband. Just all of those things kind of bring us into an appreciation of the fact that the next thing we get to do is to write, is that we get to create, these made up worlds, or if you're doing, something that's more more documentary or history, it's you get to appreciate where we are in this history, even if it feels like a lot of things are chaotic. It's very centering to do. It kind of takes out all the distraction, because you're I'm grateful for what I have, and that is a very big deal, because it could easily be something completely different. My life could be completely opposite of this, and it's not. And thank goodness it's not. It's not worse than it could be. So those are like 3 things so far, and then another one is just going out for a walk. Now I understand some people live in like dense cities, and we're now we're in lockdown again in some places, and so walking around with a mask on is not really ideal, and I totally get that. And maybe there's a way in which you can just go outside, that you can just look at the world around you, can kind of connect to the whole idea of being grateful and meditating, and finding a way to center yourself. But getting out into the world and walking around does so much. Like that is the natural state of our bodies, that we're supposed to move around. We're supposed to I guess shake the atoms of the world, so to speak. Like we're just supposed to go out and just use these bodies as much as we can. And I know some people have like chronic pain and or like disabilities, and I get that. But even just going out into outside just to like soak up the sun is something that is gonna like help you center. It's gonna give you a chance to not be distracted, and then when you come back, you're ready to tackle the work, to get going on the creative work, to make something out of nothing. It does so much for your state of mind. And a lot of these things that I'm talking about, like most of them I haven't done in a while, and that's the reason why I'm probably not feeling as creative. It's probably the reason why I was so distracted this past week, and it hasn't even just been this past week, but it's been kind of off and on every week since March, since the pandemic started. So it's like a lot of this is just talking to myself to say that that these things actually worked, and I need to get back into doing them, because not only were they just healthy for my creativity, but they were also healthy for my body in general. And if you don't have a healthy body and a healthy mind, then it's almost impossible to be as creative as you want to be. So anyway, guys, I just needed to express, like, not only was I distracted, and but I just it's part of the world. It's part of our existence right now, that I'm trying not to have it be so much a big part of my day. And yet I find a lot more of my days where I'm on my phone constantly. I'm scrolling through social media. I'm watching nonstop like YouTube videos. I'm in this mode of distraction all day long, and then by the end, by the end of the day, I'm baffled why I didn't get any creative work done, or I'm baffled that I'm not focused, or that I feel depressed or whatever. And it's because like I didn't take that time to just kind of zone everything out, and to take priority over my mind and my body, and really just say, the world can wait. Everything that's happening right now can wait. I need to take like 10 or 20 minutes for myself without anything, kind of like coming into my view, coming into my mind, just something. I just need to sit with myself and let let everything kind of like wash over me. And I think it's something that I need to do more of. And I want to be less distracted in 2021. I really do, because I don't think it's healthy for myself. I don't think it's healthy for just human beings in general. And so I'm trying to take more control over that. I'm trying to have more control over my state of being and my thoughts. And so, here we go. It's going to be a struggle. I understand it, but we're going to do it together. So, all right, guys. I will talk to you next week. And also, if you want to connect with me, I have an email for the podcast. It's tentative.title.with.tim.podcast@gmail.com. Also, I have a Twitter account for the podcast where I post episodes, and that is @title_Tim. And you can find also on the Facebook page, I have a page for the podcast, so you can connect with me there. Looking forward to hearing from all of you, and until then, I'll catch you on the next one.